If you'll remember, I bought that collection for about 200 bucks that had a bunch of really damaged high-end cards in it. There was the gold Mewtwo from the Break series, and there was a couple of other cards in there that were worth quite a bit of money if they were in good condition. But these ones were very rough. They were damaged, one of them was peeling apart. I sent them in for grading anyway. We're going to see if we got some ones, because weirdly, ones can actually be worth quite a bit of money. Not as much as a 10, but definitely more than, in some cases, even 9s. It's just a lot harder to get ones, and you don't see them nearly as often because people don't send in damaged cards. Why would they? We're going to open these up, we're going to take a look, and we're going to see what those cards turned out to be. We'll probably take an in-depth look at the tag grading reports on these cards as well, just to see what they look like when you send them a really damaged card. Let's start with the big one. This is the secret rare Mewtwo from the Breakthrough set. This card has creases, bends, pockmarks, dents, and even spots where the textured foil was lifting. It was rough, honestly one of the worst condition cards I've ever sent in. In good condition, raw copies sell for anywhere from $50 to $100. A PSA 9, $300 to $350, and PSA 10s, those can push well over $1,000. PSAs graded over 230 of these as Gem Mint 10s and 763 as 9s. But only 10 copies have ever received a PSA 1, so as you can see, it's a lot harder, or at least a lot less common, to find a PSA 1 than it would be to find a PSA 10. And unlike PSA, Tag has never graded a 1, but granted they've graded much fewer of these cards than PSA has. Next up is Misty's Determination from XY Evolutions. This one was water damaged, badly warped, and actually separating. Like, the layers of the card were coming apart. On top of that, it had dents, scuffs, everything you don't want. In PSA 10, this card goes for around 250 bucks. A 9, maybe 40 to 50. Raw, you're looking at like 25 to 30, assuming it's in decent shape. Mine, definitely not decent. According to PSA's population report, over 2,000 copies have been graded as 10, and over 3,000 as 9s. But again, just 10 copies have ever graded a 1, and Tag has never graded a 1. And last but not least, the Gardevoir EX from the Radiant collection. And this one, pretty bad. There's a giant crease running right down the center, plus rough corners, bad centering, multiple back creases, and what looked like even more water damage. Add in some serious edge wear and surface scratches, and yeah, this card was heavily played at best. So why grade it? Because this is a $2,000 card in PSA 10, only 116 copies have ever hit that grade. Even a PSA 9 can do well, but there are almost 700 of those. Only 3 Gardevoir EX cards from this set have ever gotten a PSA 1. With Tag, again, none. Unfortunately, these had been packed in with the same box as the $2,500 collection cards, and I didn't know that, so I accidentally opened them, but as soon as I realized which ones they were, I stopped. So I haven't seen the grades, I just know that they were the damaged cards. So let's have a look at these. Okay, so first up we have the Mewtwo. This is the secret rare from Breakthrough, and this is a really interesting card because it was very damaged in that collection I bought from the young guy. In good condition, in a 10, this is like $1,000 plus. This is a very valuable card. His was really rough. I don't know if you can see the damage to it just in the reflections. You can maybe see some of the dings and dents. The corners bent over. It's got all sorts of marks along it. Let's see what this one got. We got a 1. Okay. That was not only what I was expecting, that was what I was hoping for. 1s are this unique thing in that there's really not that many of them. People don't send in damaged cards that often, and when they do, it's hard to find the right amount of damage between won't be graded and like a 2. It's a fine line to ride. So we got a 1 on the Mewtwo. That's pretty cool. Now we'll take a look at the Mewtwo. This one, we've got again the card info here. We scored a 1. And you can already see this card's in very rough condition. But if we lower the slider down a bit, back to about 30, and it becomes really evident. This thing had all sorts of weird dings and dents, like big dent there, all sorts of pock marks all over it. This card was beat to hell and back. That corner's folded over. Really notable on the back. We've got big crease in there. Just genuinely terrible condition. That crease wasn't even really noticeable. Oh yeah, it was. So if you're ever looking, you can often find things and then go, once you've found it, you can go, oh yeah, okay, there's that crease all the way across. There's a little rip there. And the back's just very, very rough. Only one graded pour. Highest graded pour. First graded pour. Centering was not great. It was very off center to the right. And it was pretty good top and bottom. The back was really good as well. And then we've got peeling corner, all sorts of creases. Just the entire front, it looks like. What's next? Okay, so next up we have Misty. And Misty from Evolutions is interesting because this card was actually pulling apart. I was a little bit surprised that it got graded, but even by PSA's grading criteria, the cards can technically be missing pieces and still get a 1. So let's see what this one got. A 1. And that was, if it got graded, this one was probably the one I was most positive would get a 1. It really doesn't, well, you can see the water damage down the side here. This card obviously got wet. Misty likes to go swimming, but do not throw her cards in the pool. That's never a good plan for any of your cards. Even within this, I can kind of tell that this card had a really bad warp. It is straining against the plastic. But that's just another fun one that we did. Yeah. We've got Misty's Determination. It was also scored as a pour. And if we slide the slider down, I'm kind of surprised that water damage doesn't become a bit more evident, but wow, the back of that card is rough. You can see the creases. You can see a big thing there. Yeah, where we're missing stuff. All sorts of really rough wear and tear there. You can see the kind of wrinkling along the edge. That top corner is all messed, or top edge is all messed up. And the front, it actually didn't even scan very well. You can see the curvature of this card. And now it's got a bunch of big dents right there. Boop, boop, boop. This entire edge is all wavy. Again, the only one graded pour, the highest of those, and the first one graded pour. Centering was absolutely terrible. Look at that. We're worse than 50 or 40-60. I didn't think it was that bad, but it might even just be because of the curvature. Top to bottom wasn't bad. And then we've got all sorts of dings and damage and everything all over it. And again, they're showing the corners as okay, which surprises me. I'm not sure if that's just because the corners weren't really what affected this one, or if they need to be way more dinged up than they are to cause a problem. I do think it's interesting that there's no section to put a note about how the card itself was peeling, but once it's been slabbed, that doesn't really matter. The card is kind of stabilized. Okay. So this is the Gardevoir from the Radiant collection. Same person's collection that I bought it from. Let's see what this one got. This one had a pretty bad crease right down the middle. Yeah, there we go. Let's see. We got a 2. Okay, so that's actually a worse result in my opinion than a 1. I would have much rather had the 1. That crease looks like it was not enough to take it down to a 1. The back of the card does have a pretty noticeable crease right along this entire side. Very likely might have got wet in the same manner that Misty did. Unfortunately, that is not enough to have taken it down to a 1. So, of all the cards, that one might have been the worst result, ironically, even though it's a better grade than the other 2. Okay, so here we are at the tag portal for Gardevoir EX. And we can see all the card information here. We can see that we got a 2, and then we can see their scans of the card. Now we can already see we've got a big crease there. We've got all sorts of wear along the bottom. We've got wear along the top edge. Just in general, it's pretty rough. And then we can see the crease in the middle of the card, as well as all sorts of other little dings and stuff around there. So let's just turn this slider down, and these issues become much more obvious. We can see the extent to which that crease was actually there. Like, it goes up there, it goes down here. There's all sorts of... There's a bit more. There's all sorts of weird stuff around here. We can see, whoops, that edge is all beat up really badly. We can see there's another crease down here in the hollow where it's lifting off the paper. And then on the back we can see all sorts of scratches, deep scratches in the cardstock, deep indentations, that crease of course, and then more info, or more damage up here. Let's put that slider back to 100. I find that putting it right down to 0 isn't necessarily that helpful, although it is interesting to see that the different wear. Like here you can see the P in the Pokemon logo is there, and then it's actually worn down from being played with. Same with the Pokeball. That ink will actually show up on these scans, just the differences in the ink. See here it's all a bit raised, but up here it's worn down and worn away the surface of the card. And here we can see there's definitely a big bump there, which kind of corresponds to this crease on the back. Really interesting detail. It is the only one that's been graded a 2. It is the highest, number 2. Centering wasn't bad. It was a little bit off center here, left and right. The back was a little bit off center. Now it's only showing 2 dings and 2 dings on the corners, but let's keep in mind that when they show these defects identified of notable grade significance, that is specifically the worst of the worst. If these were all gone, there would still likely be other things that drag this down. Like, they're not showing our edges and corners, but they are showing our surface wrinkle crease on the back. The edges and corners on this card scored pretty badly as well. For some reason the corners show pretty high, but I don't know if that's just because everything else on the card was so bad that the corners aren't really affecting the score at all. We'll have to look into that maybe if we send in some other ones and we can compare. Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed the video, make sure to give me a thumbs up down below. Feel free to leave a comment, and don't forget to subscribe so that you don't miss future videos like this one.